Hey everyone, it's Amy of Dragon's Spit Apothecary. Welcome to the full moon of September. Can you believe it's September? I said that this morning and I was like, well, yeah, I can't believe it's September, but in a lot of ways, I'm kind of happy this year is like going towards the end, right? Because it's been pretty crazy this year. Anyway, we're going to do our oils and oracle reading today for the full moon, which is the harvest moon. And that's a pretty significant full moon. Obviously it's about harvesting. It was named out, the Indians named it because that's when they were harvesting food for the winter. Um, but it's a very significant moon in our lives today because it's a time for us also to kind of reap what we have been growing in our lives. And in some ways too is start to kind of birth some new ideas that we want to put to rest, kind of ponder on, and think about how they could be used in the future, right? Not necessarily act on them right now, but think about planting winter crops like your cabbage and potatoes and things that you plant in the wintertime, right? Like I'm planting flower bulbs for spring. And you plant them now, but then you see emergence of them, those ideas in the spring. Okay, so that's kind of the idea here with the harvest moon. You're reaping what you've already grown and you're starting to think about what's next. Okay, and our cards that I pulled really support this, and I think you're going to love it. So the first card, I pull 5 of these on a full moon. Our first card I pulled was Melissa. Love the Melissa oil. So let me tell you how I use it. I actually put a drop on my thumb and I hold it to the roof of my mouth for a couple seconds. It helps with anxiety, stress, depression, those kind of feelings that don't feel good to us, that overthinking, which I tend to do. Yeah, I'm admitting I overthink things. Melissa helps bring that calmness to it. I actually, on my website, dragonspitapothecary.com, on the homepage in the blog section, if you search for the Melissa Challenge, I have a blog post in there with instructions of how to do the Melissa Challenge, which is 30 days of using Melissa oil, like I just described, to rough your mouth. And I promise you will see a difference. I swear by this oil. It's very versatile, but the one thing I tend to use it for most, anxiety and overthinking. Okay, so go over there to the website when you get a chance, pull up the Melissa Challenge blog post. I think I wrote it, gosh, might have been January this year or January the prior year, but it's one of my most popular posts because of the instructions and explanation why benefits of Melissa are so potent. So today, though, because of our full moon, this is the card we need to focus on. Okay, focus on, and this is about shift and equilibrium. Okay, I'm going to explain what that is. So really, it's only when we step out of our comfort zone in life that we begin to grow and transform, right? And change, it introduces changes, which in course brings about anxiety sometimes and overthinking. And oh my gosh, am I going to fail? Am I going to make it? Am I going to survive this? All kinds of worry comes up for us when we do that. So Melissa brings that stillness to our mind and putting all those negative thoughts, self-limiting beliefs to the side because those are toxic to our progress. And it reminds us to be moderate and to find the balance in everything we do. So, that we kind of find that perfect, not too much to the right of good, not too much to the right of bad, right? And we feel calm regardless of what's going on around us. And it's a stability that is really at the core of Melissa's benefits. So it is hope and light to a darkened situation, connection and hope in difficulty, in difficult times. Now, she helps us overcome agitation and intolerance, which is sometimes where anxiety leads us, is to that more resentfulness type mindset, and kind of helps us deal with the roller coaster of emotions, right? And we've all had, there's been a lot of that this year, right? So the fairy that's sitting on top of this guy's head, this little gnome, she is representative of Melissa, and she is kind of helping him breathe in fresh light, take a new look at things, realize not everything's doom and gloom in life, And she's not scared because she knows the gnome isn't going to hurt the love she has to give him. Okay. It's all within him. She's just kind of helping him find it. And she's willing to help him, even though she knows there will be rough times ahead, and she will help him find his balance in that. Now, the water in this, you see the little stream behind him, represents the emotions that Melissa brings out to help us get rid of them and float them away. Okay, you see kind of the flow of the water is going away from him. So this card means we need to be optimistic. Light is going to come into our situation, whatever that is, and our desired outcome will be created. But we have to find that equilibrium and balance to help make that work happen. Because sometimes things just don't happen on their own. We have to put in the work to help them. But not to be overwhelmed by it and overthink it and, feel like it's all doom and gloom because we got to change. Change is not easy. I get it. We're all creatures of resisting change. I'm guilty too. But this kind of helps us bring that courage to move forward with it. Okay. And so the affirmation of this card is that there is perfect balance in all areas of my life, and I am finding harmony. Okay, so that's what we need to focus on, harmony, balance, getting through change in a positive way. Now, wow, you guys, so this next card is about releasing. And lo and behold, there's some common themes you're going to notice from the Melissa card we just talked about. This card I pulled was Cypress, which is the card of adaptability and impeccability, which sometimes seem like opposites, right? But you're going to see that, you see the cypress tree and he's kind of leaning into the wind. He's being pushed by it. And you got that tower on the top that's crumbling because it's being pulled the opposite way. And oh, there's a strike of lightning. How often does that happen? We got a life storm right in the middle of some other chaos going on. But the sun is in there for a little bit of hope, right? This is a very busy card. So we're going to talk about what this means. And you're going to find, again, that theme from the Melissa oil that we just talked about. Change is hard. I'm telling you, and this card is also going to talk a lot about changes. So what it's telling us is that changes can be really messy and hard, and things crash around us, and it's just chaos, right? I remember every area of my life being in total just shit piles. Not to use bad language, but that's exactly what it was. Just big steaming shit piles everywhere I looked. Every area of my life, it seemed. But at the end, obviously you have to stand up in the rubble and you have to decide what you're going to rebuild, how you're going to rebuild it, how you're going to reinforce it for the next time, because life's going to throw another storm at you sooner or later, and you have to be ready for it. So cypress is a really good oil to help us figure that out. So as you can see, and you see cypress all the time. We've got them all over the place. They plant them around our roadsides. They're very nimble at moving with the wind, right? They bend and they sway, and they seem to do it with ease. They don't break. Whereas if you had a different kind of tree there, and the strong winds hit it, like we get hurricanes here. So a hurricane and winds hits it, a lot of those trees come down because they're rigid and they can't stand the force of the wind. Whereas these cypress trees can take a lot more of that wind and bend into it, right? They're not as likely to break, right? So it's, again, that balance, and it's the flow into changes and not seeing it through the loneliness and resentment that sometimes happens when we're going through a storm in our life. So cypress is associated with magic, crossroads, and the underworld, according to Greek mythology. Cypress was used to fumigate the air during cremations back in the day because it's very aromatic, and to assure the right passage of the soul from this world to the next. So cypress, you see that tower, it's beginning to break, right? And sometimes the only choice is to rebuild. You're not going to save that tower there in that situation. but moving in the background and the other cypresses behind it can more easily sway with the wind together. Okay, so that's that connection to each other. And the wind and the water will signify the movement and the flow of our life. Cypress is, working well with others. It's helping to find that support when we're going through storms, which sometimes is really hard, and not feeling like it's a bad thing to have to rebuild all the time. Okay. Cypress is telling us that our life changes are happening, but there's good things on the other side of the door. That's what that sun's about in that card. Issues are going to come up, and you're not going to be able to bury them all the time, but you've got to learn to flow with them, and you got to learn to put it on good foundations and reinforce things so that when the next storm hits, you're less likely to lose as much, right? So, Cypress, release. I embrace changes in peaceful harmony and positive ways. So again, that harmony word comes up and that balance word comes up. And for us in the release of the full moon, it's asking us to let go of our rigidness against changes and to flow more into them a little more easily, like the cypress trees. Okay. All right. This next one is to draw energy from. And I really had a hard time with this card when I sat down and kind of figured out what I was going to tell you guys about it. Because when I see draw energy from it and I see the card, I have a hard time with it myself. So it is the Latisha Oil, and it's the card of expectations and empathy. And to draw energy from that is sometimes difficult because expectations are a tricky thing. Sometimes we set expectations that are very unrealistic or that are based on society or our culture or what we were taught, right and wrong. And sometimes the expectations we have aren't necessarily healthy. And that's where I was struggling with, well, how does that apply to draw energy from? But when I really sat with this and realized that Latisha is actually a very calming oil, and creates that deep connection of all things, then I started to bridge why this was an important oil for this draw energy from position in our full moon card, because it provides the security, warmth, and love that we need, especially when we're going through changes, right? Because nowhere else are you going to feel insecurity than when you are going through a life storm and feel all alone, right? Nowhere else do you need that comfort that things are going to be okay. And that's what this card presents to us. It's letting go of resentment and what we expect from people, and their outlooks, understanding that they're going to think about things differently than we are. And sometimes that leads to disappointments and heartache because we feel like they're not in our corner, but maybe they are, and we're just not seeing it from their perspective, which again is kind of hard to do when you're going through really tough changes. But it can be easier to cope with the flow of life and the changes we encounter when we're not trying to manipulate it and get stressed over who we think is really in our corner or not. Sometimes we get stuck in that thinking of persistency that someone's not doing right by us. And sometimes they aren't. Granted, there's a lot of people that take advantage of you. But we can't go through life not trusting and not letting others step in where they can help us to their ability, and understanding that their ability and our expectations of their ability are two different things. So this card is telling us not to put ourselves last, to meet your needs before you can satisfy those of others, to bring soothing and trust in your relationships where it's appropriate. Again, don't let people take advantage of you, but understand who you can trust. It teaches you that good will come in many ways, and that you will not always come. It will not always come from the hand that you necessarily helped. Maybe that person just isn't able to do the same as what you did for them. Okay. So this is actually an oil that is related to Melissa. Can you believe that? So tell me this isn't related in our reading. The coins that she's holding, and you'll see throughout the picture, symbolize the good things that come material things that will flow as we help others, regardless of if we receive anything from it. Okay, we still benefit from the pay it forward situation. But we too are deserving and capable and needing sometimes that's those same things, but it may come in different ways. Okay, so your affirmation: I am capable and deserving. I let go of any expectation as infinite abundance flows through me. Okay, that's what we need to draw energy from in this full moon. Okay, a couple more. I love this next card. Oh boy, I love it. One of my favorite oils. And I love the aroma of it. I love how it makes me feel. This is an oil I use a lot, just as perfume, to be honest, because I just really love it. So this is what's emerging for us. And it's jasmine, which is the oil of finale and fertility. Okay, so it's a very feminine oil. And there are never really endings, happy or otherwise. Things keep going. They overlap and blur, and your story is part of your sister's story and is part of other stories that came before you, and there's no telling where any of them may lead. Okay, so it's no beginning, no end kind of methodology here. So our soul is always alive, waiting for water to be able to sprout. It's a little seedling, and it can wait a very long time before our dreams and hopes begin to materialize. And sometimes we can lose the drive to keep waiting on them, right? We lose interest. So we hold, again, this is sacred feminine oil. It's a very powerful oil when it comes to feminine mindset and empowerment. And it helps us kind of overcome intimacy issues, confidence, motivation, creativity. All of those things are kind of supported and able to materialize with the support of jasmine. And it helps us become passionate with love and care for ourselves and what we want to have in our life. So she is a goddess in this card, and the moon's behind her. She's holding that cup, and the cup is representing our emotions, okay? And she holds the essence of death and fertility, so the no beginning, no end thinking. Black, white, and gray on the card represent night and the showcasing of the moon. So even in dark times, there's beauty. That's what that's talking about. And it represents the element of water, which is the emotions of the soul. So this card is telling us that to let things flow. Again, dealing with changes, right? Sometimes it is not worth fighting the tide, kind of the pick your battles kind of situation. Cycles are coming to an end, chapters are closing, but there's new things behind it. And what is happening now is a byproduct of an intention that you've set in the past. Take responsibility for your creations. Okay, so your affirmation for Jasmine. Creativity flows through every cell of my body, and I am a powerful creator. So that is what is emerging for us. Okay, you guys ready for this last card? Because I'm telling you, this is all about changes this time. And I think this card is very supportive in helping that happen. It is our card of spearmint, which is the card of creative expression. And so why I think this is an important card is this is associated with the throat chakra and our ability to form words around what we need. And sometimes that is very important when you're going through changes to be able to express your needs and have them met, or be courageous enough to pursue what you really need in life, okay, and not just be silent and hope that it happens. So it encourages speech, writing, creative expression, helps people speaking their truth, okay? It helps us overcome closed-mindedness, being afraid to speak, living in our own heads, and creating stories of what if. So again, that overthinking thought process. We we can speak our truth in a way that is kind and not harsh. We don't have to be angry about it. It's just we're coming from a place of our soul that needs to be heard and getting things that are right for us. So she is holding that scroll and she's telling that group of people what she is needing. And that wave behind her is actually her power, upswing in energy and liberation when she finally gets her words out. So this is telling us to find a nice way to express our truth, to navigate what we need, and find that connection of, being able to say it, what's important to us, and move in that direction. Again, speaking to the need to change. All right, your affirmation. I politely and calmly speak my mind with clarity, confidence, honesty, and ease. Okay, so there you have it. 5 cards full of change. They are pretty incredible, right? So I wish you all the best on this harvest moon. And I hope that whatever changes you are going through right now find you in a good place afterwards, in a place that you can rebuild a life of your dreams. If you have questions or you would like a personal oil oracle card reading, you can reach out to me at dragonspinapothecary.com. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday for our normal Friday Oils and Oracle reading. And wish you all the best till then. Talk to you later. Bye.